and good afternoon. My name is Steve Moak, and this is the Unlicensed Counselor. A beautiful, hot day here in Scottsdale, Arizona. All that nice things I said about this city those last couple episodes, forget it. It's terrible here right now. It's a billion degrees. But hey, you know what? Still some gratitude to be found in my life. Grateful to be here. Grateful for nice little couple days away. Went on a little trip with the family as well too. And I don't know if you heard 2 episodes ago, we did an episode on kind of traveling with your family. So hopefully everybody got some good advice, some nuggets. Maybe put a couple of those into play while we were out there traveling with your family. Hopefully it was successful. Maybe it helped a little bit. I know it can be a little bit challenging from time to time, but I will say I put those into play in my own life and traveling with my family. And you know what? It worked. Flexible, listened, compromised, all those things. It was actually quite a nice trip. Went up to Park City, Utah for a couple days up in the mountains, high of about 80 degrees, and really just relaxed, enjoyed time with the family, and the cousins and my daughter and all that good stuff. So a lot of reasons to be grateful in the world outside of this miserable heat that's sitting on the outside of these windows here in Scottsdale, Arizona. But again, hey, thanks to everybody who continues to join, listen, download, subscribe. Follow us at The Unlicensed Counselor on Instagram, or getting ready to start a new batch of content that we're going to be putting up as well, too. Saw the numbers come in again. We continue to go up. Big thanks to everybody that's kind of sending this to a friend or has shown interest or continues to download. Really appreciate it. It's been a passion project, but now it's turning into something that's a little bit more than that. So really happy to see kind of the progress and that it's hopefully resonating with some of the folks that are out there as well too. So today we're going to talk about goal setting. Goal setting is something I've always found to be a good practice, but I hear a lot of information around goal setting, and some people get super stringent about it, and some people are kind of anti it. And I just want to split the difference and kind of go over some nuts and bolts on goal setting and how you may be able to apply it in your own life. But before we dig into that, as always, want to pay a couple bills. First and foremost, our friends at ShareTech. Go to betterdrugtest.com. I can't thank these guys enough. Their business is growing. Their product is the best in the market. And in all honesty, it is a drug and alcohol screen. If maybe you're new to listening to the Unlicensed Counselor podcast, it cannot be cheated. It requires no observed collection and can be done from the privacy of your own home. And then it is sent off to a lab that analyzes the results. So you're going to see the most number of substances available for any drug test available on the market. It's processed by an LCMS machine. So this is a huge I've actually toured this lab. It is a massive machine. And then the report that it prints out to you will tell you the levels of each substance that was found present in that sample as well too. So if you need to know, there really is no substitute for the ShareTech drug and alcohol screen. Go to betterdrugtest.com, pick up this test. Honestly, it's changing the entire drug testing industry, and I'll stand by that. And I've had many, many friends and family that have used this screen in their own lives for their loved ones. And honestly, there's no going back to, the little Amazon test. Does it cost a little bit more? Yeah, it costs $99, not $30, $40. You know why? Because it's accurate. It's going to tell you everything that you need, not some little pee into a cup and hopefully that strip from China tells you the right information. We're on a whole different playing field. So big thanks to them for being our initial sponsor and continuing to be our sponsor as well too. Next up, our friends at Easy Sheets. Go to easysheets.club, the most fun subscription you can sign up for. And probably, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, maybe the most used subscription that you can have, right? I mean, let's figure you sleep on your sheets 8 hours a day, right? We professionally clean, press, and ship them right to your front door. You pick any sheet from our selection that you like. You and your loved one are really going to be thankful for this subscription as well, too. And by the way, this subscription starts at $50 a month. If you want to do more, you can increase it and have it come every 2 weeks if you'd like. You can switch out the sheets if you want to. There's a million different ways to take advantage of the Easy Sheets subscription. Highly encouraging. As always, I talk about Kerry Loha, White, Bamboo, Boom. You'll thank me later. It's like sleeping at a resort. go to easysheets.club, spend the $50, do yourself a favor. Your whoever's sleeping next to you is going to thank you as well, too. And obviously, want to go ahead and plug myself, the Unlicensed Counselor, as well, too. Go to theunlicensedcounselor.com. I do one-on-one appointments, counseling with folks as well, too. You've heard my points of view. You hear that I like to take things head on with a little bit more direct approach to counseling than kind of what counseling has turned into. It was one of the reasons I started this podcast, is it became just talk, right? And really my approach, philosophy, what I want to do, how I want to be of help or value to you is solution-focused counseling. What I do when I get on the microphone here is talk directly to the point. I like take-home value. I like take action steps that you can listen today, put into play that day, and see if it makes a difference. If that makes sense to you, if maybe you've gone to other counselors and therapists and you've kind of talked in circles, or maybe you just aren't getting better at the rate that you would like to, certainly would love to spend a little bit more time. Go to theunlicenskedcounselor.com and you can book a little bit of time. So, okay, good stuff. I'm not going to plug Stitch Fix anymore. They haven't responded back to me yet with any of those free boxes of clothes that I've been looking for, but I'm keeping my eye on you. Okay, back to the topic at hand. So setting goals, right? Now, I don't know when setting goals kind of became some almost controversial at times. I don't think it should be, but at times it kind of is. I think there's a little bit of pushback on how, maybe it's too rigid. Maybe people they don't find the value in it. They can't stick to them. So they kind of lose the momentum behind this. I think it's a really important thing. And the reason that I'm talking about counseling on, July 13th is we're halfway through the year, right? We're halfway through the year, and we usually talk about these things December 31st, January 1st. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to eat better and blah, 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 blah. So as typical with the unlicensed counselor, I like to do things a little bit differently. Now, you probably had some goals. Maybe you wrote them down. Maybe you didn't. But I'd like you to take a minute as these words are hitting your ears, wherever you're at, in your car, on the road, at the gym, and go, oh, yeah, that's right. I did set some goals or have some ideas around goals. Where am I at? Have I checked in with them? Have I thought about them? Have I even, put 1 ounce of thought into them, maybe past that first month? So we're, a little over halfway through the year. Maybe it's time to put a little bit more thought into these goals. And by the way, you got a lot of time left in the year that we can still kind of get things going, right? Now, what I want to talk about today is, again, how to maybe go about setting some goals, how you can stick to them, and how you can hopefully achieve them. And by the way, if you don't, it's not the end of the world. You don't need to beat yourself up. But I just think setting goals in whatever way, shape, or form you feel comfortable in is going to give you a direction to move in that will ultimately kind of move you forward, right? Honestly, if you get to them or don't get to them, I like to see progress. I like to see people moving forward. And I think without goals that are at least put out there, you're just kind of a boat that just kind of sets sail out into the sea and just kind of land wherever you land. Maybe that's okay with you, but I think you would like to get there, maybe a little more effectively, and then be able to see your progress along the way. So as usual, on what things I talk about aren't exactly always earth-shattering, but I really think that what I try and bring as the unlicensed counselor is just a bite-sized nuggets, take-home kind of things you can put into play today. And as I say often, take 1 or 2 of them. You don't have to take all of these today, and just put it into play today, right? You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to make a big hoopla of it. But let's think about goals. Maybe you had some that you started the year out on. Let's maybe revisit those. And if you haven't, let's start today on, today is July 13th. Let's see about putting some goals in play between now and December 31st, right? So here's a kind of a step-by-step guide, if you want, on how to kind of set goals and how to stay committed to them, really. So number 1, let's identify your values and the priorities, right? So let's take a minute and think or reflect on what matters the most to you, what areas of your life you want to improve on. Consider what's important to you, your values, your career, your aspirations, health, relationships, and other aspects. So kind of think about everything that's kind of going on in your life, and then you can start to pick areas that you want to create some goals around. Now, it's real easy to hear that and go, I want a laundry list of goals, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. Let's be reasonable here, folks, as we're going about setting our goals. If you get 2 to 3 goals out of this entire thing, that's good in my book. If you want to be more ambitious, I'm not going to hold you back, but I'd much rather see you choose fewer and accomplish them than put 7, 8, 9, 10 out there and come up with squadoosh, right? And you land at nothing, right? Because again, progress, moving forward. How can we keep doing that? So, if health and fitness, as an example, are a priority, you may want to set a goal to exercise regularly and maintain a healthy diet. That's a good starting point. But as it dovetails into my next point, let's make your goals specific and measurable. So that's number 2. Make your goals specific and measurable, right? So take a look at all these other areas in your life that maybe you'd like to make some improvement in. Now, let's put them down on a piece of paper, right? That's a big thing that I do. I do it on a day-to-day basis as well, too. I have my big kind of goals for the year, and then I have kind of my to-do and goals that I want to get done over the course of the day and over the week, but that's just me. But let's get clear. Let's define your goals so they're concrete and they're measurable. This is going to help you track your progress and stay motivated, right? So let's go back to that exercise example in point 1. Instead of I want to exercise more, let's say I want to go to the gym 3 times a week and jog for 30 minutes each time, right? Now we're starting to kind of move these goals into a little more from abstract into a little bit more concrete, right? I'm a big fan of writing these things down as well, too. And look, there may be other ways. Maybe you want to record a selfie of yourself or a video of yourself kind of setting out your goals and things like that, too. Technology plays a big thing in our world today, and maybe there's more fun ways that you can kind of measure yourself or stay engaged or root yourself on along the way. Whatever it is, I say go for it. But let's identify the areas. Let's make them specific and measurable. And let's not go overboard on too many of these things. And let's make sure that they're realistic and attainable, which I'll get to here in just a minute as well, too. But number 3, let's break the goals into smaller and much more manageable tasks, right? So divide your goals into smaller tasks or steps that are achievable. And what this is going to do is going to make your goals seem much less overwhelming and easier to kind of tackle, especially early on, right? Putting huge monumental kind of goals in front of you on day 1, it's just like, you're like staring up at the top of a mountain going, how the hell am I ever going to get there? When you look at it as just one foot after the other, a 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step kind of thing, right? You're much more able to A, get started, and B, you're going to pick up momentum along the way as well, too. So here's an example for you. Let's say your goal is to read 12 books in a year, right? Maybe that could sound like a lot. Another way of doing it, let's just read 1 book a month, right? Simple, little, attainable, bite-size, not overwhelming. Be like, hey, I think I could read 1 book a month. And by the way, go with Audible, right? If you're not I encourage people to read, but if you're not, check out Audible as well, too. Listen to an ebook after you listen to this podcast, right? Next up on the list, number 4, setting realistic and attainable goals. This may be the most important one on how to do this, because I've met with a lot of people, and I've had people work with me on setting goals, and I've had some people who are really ambitious and rigorous on their goal setting, and some may say militant. I'm not gonna say that it was my father, but maybe have been that way. Maybe some of you grew up with folks that are that way as well, too. And look, and it works for a lot of people, so I understand kind of the emphasis behind it. I'm making fun of it a little bit, but it can be a little rigid at times. And I think taking them seriously is good, but let's not beat ourselves up by setting goals that, from day 1, you're just not going to get to, right? So we got to make sure that we're setting them realistic and attainable. So I want these goals to be within a reasonable time frame. I don't want them to be overly ambitious. I don't want them to be unachievable, because that's just going to lead you to frustration and discouragement, right? Like I've seen this even in business goal setting and things like that. And they're like, I want to do $1 million in revenue this year. Well, I'm like, Okay, well, you did, 50 grand last year. How do you expect to, 100x or whatever the number is, your revenue? So you got to make sure that you're being smart about this. You're not getting looped into just some hoopla about I'd really like to pie in the sky this thing. Make it reasonable and make it so that you can hit your goal, right? These should be hittable, right? These should be hittable. So, back to the exercise example. Let's say you don't currently exercise at all. It may be unrealistic to aim for running a marathon within a month, right? So you don't run right now and I want to do a marathon. Cool. I encourage everyone to run a marathon, truthfully. I just think the build up, the discipline that it takes to kind of get you there is significant. The sense of accomplishment when you cross that finish line is just awesome. And you'll always have that kind of as a way to just, if it's not bragging to others, but just feeling that confidence that came that you set out and did that. It's a really hard thing that most people can't do. That's 26.2 miles. But let's say, okay, let's go with a 5K. A 5K is 3.1 miles, right? So now you've taken a goal, you've broken it down specific into smaller and a much more manageable task. Now, I think that's a great way to kind of start to get into this goal setting process. Start with smaller milestones and work your way up from there. And you'll kind of build some momentum as you get going. And once you see kind of what you're capable of doing as well, too, I think that's only going to give you kind of the confidence to keep going in a lot of this as well, too. I've seen that in weightlifting. Weightlifting is a really interesting study in kind of the human brain, in my opinion. You can go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week and not see barely any improvement for a month, maybe even 2. And then all of a sudden, with that consistent discipline and kind of that delayed gratification that comes along with this, month 3, month 4, you're going, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Wow, I'm lifting a heavier weight, or that shirt's a little tighter, or I'm looking the abs, or the whatever it is. Like it's really a neat thing when you commit to it and you have these goals, and then you start to see the benefits that come along with that. So just another small example on the exercise thing as well, too. Number 5, let's create some timelines or a deadline that is attached to these goals as well, too. And by the way, a lot of this can be used for business as well, too. I've been in a lot of business goal setting meetings. Some are done really well and some are done haphazardly. And, I think ones that kind of take a much more structured and formal approach to this tend to do better, and then tracking them over time as well, too. But putting a timeline or a deadline to this. Assign a timeline or a deadline to each of these goals, right? I want to do this by this at X and Y. And then keep on track. You're going to have to revisit this. When I was young, I ran track and field, and I'd have like times I had them on my mirror just in my bathroom that I wanted to hit. So I would be looking at them on a regular basis. I'm not saying you have to do that, but maybe they could be in your phone. Maybe you have a reminder that pops up in your calendar once a month that you can just pull those up and go, where am I at? Am I making progress? Am I behind or ahead? And maybe you need to adjust those as you go forward too. Again, they're your goals, right? Don't do it for somebody else. If you need to adjust them as you go, that's okay. But putting timelines and deadlines on this is going to kind of keep some momentum behind this. It adds a sense of urgency, and it's going to help you stay focused and committed to whatever that goal is as well, too. Right? So back to the running thing as well. So you want to set a deadline to accomplish the goal of running your 5K within 3 months, right? That's good. 3.1 miles. Runner in me says you could do it a little bit sooner, but that's okay. If that's your pace, that's your pace. They're your goals, not my goals, right? And remember that, right? I'm even going against my own stuff. So remember that. Do it however you need to do it. Number 6, and I touched on this one already, is write down your goals, right? Write them down. Write them down is maybe a boomer way of doing it. Record yourself now, right? Make a TikTok, record your video, do a daily check-in. I mean, have some fun with it. They're yours. You don't have to share that publicly if you don't want to. But putting your goals in writing makes them more tangible, and it helps you remember things, right? When that pen to paper, the brain to pen to paper connection, I don't know what it is. I don't know the psychology behind it, but it works, right? Use a journal, use a digital note, use a goal-setting app. Somehow document your goals and write them down so that A, you know exactly what they are. B, you can pull them up and reflect on it and then see how you're doing against your timeline as well. So you can put down your exercise goals, the frequency, the duration, and the deadlines attached to them, right? You know, I think people still use journals. I think people use their notes on their phone quite a bit as well too. Whatever it is that gets you going in this direction, I'm totally, totally fine with. But number 7 along these lines is develop an action plan, right? Outline the specific actions you need to take to achieve your goals. Break down each goal into actionable steps and identify possible obstacles, right? The possible obstacle part of this is interesting as well too. Is like, what could happen on my exercise journey? I might get hurt or something like that. Oh, well, there's going to be the holidays and I've got some work travel that I've got to do. So kind of factoring in, so it's almost you're putting the goal out there and you're backing into it a little bit and kind of making sure that you've thought it through, so that as you're putting together your goals, you're making sure you're accounting for all of these things, right? Pretty straightforward stuff, but I really do think the action plan is an important step in this entire process. How am I going to get this all done? Do I need to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do it? Well, I'm not a morning person. Well, maybe that's not the best way to tackle this goal then. You're going to need to block out 6:30 at night to 7:30 at night to go to the gym or go for a run or go for a hike or whatever it is. I keep referring to exercise, but again, these can be along relationships, these can be work, these can be financial, and they can be fun as well too. Hey, I want to take my family to, Maui for 2 weeks, right? There's a goal, right? Or I want to be able to, visit 3 continents or visit all 63 national parks across the country or every baseball stadium in the country. I don't care what it is. Have some fun with your goals. Don't be so stifling and rigid with them. Be creative. Have some that are financial, have some that are personal, have some that are fun, have some that are family. Maybe there's religious, whatever it is, put it all down. Put it all down and start moving, taking some action. But making sure when you're creating that action plan that it's designed in a way that's achievable. You're not a morning person. All of a sudden tomorrow, you're probably not going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go run a 5K, right? Don't BS yourself, right? You're just setting yourself up for failure right now. I see people do it all the time, and it's frustrating because it's like they'll get the momentum to get this going, but the plan is designed to fail, right? Like that's not you. You're not gonna do that. Like I don't want to do that, and I'm much more inclined that way. So, okay, tracking your progress. Number 8, regularly monitor that action plan, your progress. We want to keep you motivated. We want to keep you accountable. Keep a record of your achievements, the setbacks, and any adjustments that you need kind of along the way too. Again, kind of going back to this journal, there's many apps that can help do this stuff as well too. If it's an exercise or running related thing, you can have the watch. You can see how often you're running, the pace that you're going, the heartbeat, the distance. There's actual little awards that come through the Nike Run Club. Whatever it is, making sure that you're tracking your progress. It's going to let you know if you're behind, right? Which is okay. Let's not beat ourselves up for it. Again, I'm looking for progress, not perfection here, right? Or maybe you're exceeding your goals, right? Maybe you're ahead of track, and maybe you need to bump it up a little bit as well too. Although I'd rather see you keep it there and surpass it and then just feel kind of the win and the mental positive effects that come along with surpassing those goals. But just make sure you're tracking your progress, right? However you choose to do that, I think it's a good way to do it. Number 9, stay motivated and then adjust when necessary. A lot of this comes down to motivation. How can we help keep you motivated? By reminding yourself of these things. I want you to celebrate the small victories. So maybe you do want to go out and do that marathon, but you just did your first 5K. That's awesome, right? Most people aren't waking up every day or on the weekends, at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive out somewhere to go run a 5K at 3.1 miles. I don't care what your time is. You got up and you did it. You checked off a milestone along your goal-setting journey. Make sure that you're celebrating that. Go out for the brunch, have a mimosa, whatever the heck it is that you do to enjoy yourself. Stay motivated. Keep the motivation high and going, right? Be flexible. Vacation's going to come up. You're going to get sick. You may get injured. You may be going through personal stuff. You may get fired, divorced, the kids, school. I mean, a million things are going to come up along the way. Understand that is life. It is a roller coaster at all times, right? But find a way to kind of stick to what you're doing. Keep your motivation high and celebrate the little stuff along the way and understand that things are going to interrupt us, right? And you just don't beat yourself up. You got to be able to kind of ride those peaks and valleys out, right? Number 10, a good way to do this is by seeking some support and accountability as well, too, right? So if you have somebody that maybe you exercise with, share your goals with them, right? Somebody that you trust, right? Share your goals, a friend, a family, a mentor. Their support and accountability can help you stay on track, by being able to be like, hey, you know what? I do this in my own personal life. So again, this isn't, the unlicensed counselor just out here preaching. I have a running buddy and a lifting buddy that we text each other every day. Did you get your lift in? Did you get your run in? How far did you go? How fast did you go? Did you do this? Did you do that? And we're constantly on. Now, we kind of bust each other's chops a little bit. That's as guys sometimes do. But I enjoy that. And he gets on me and I get on him. I was in Park City and I ran a race up in the mountains this weekend. He was sitting on his butt and I let him know about it multiple times, right? Not necessarily always the nicest way. But you know what? That's the way our dynamic is. And that works for me. So, we didn't sit down and have like, you are my formal accountability partner, Chris. No, he's my buddy. And, this is a way that we kind of push each other as well, too. We've run a ton of races around town. He's beat me a couple times. I've beat him a couple times. And we have fun with it, but we're constantly kind of pushing each other to do better, right? Not in a formal way, but it helps. It makes it fun. We have same fitness goals. We work out at the same gym together. It's just a little bit more fun that way. And if one of us starts to slide a little bit, you'll get a little ribbing from the other one that can maybe nudge you back on track. A little more of a shove than a nudge in our case, but do whatever suits you, right? Last but not least, number 11, review and revise these goals, right? You got to be looking at these goals on a semi-regular basis. Me in high school having things on my bathroom mirror kind of taped up there. I don't think that you necessarily have to do that. If you want to do something like that, by all means. But I think you do need to be reviewing your goals, assessing your progress, and making any necessary changes. And don't beat yourself up over these things as well, too. Priorities change. Circumstances change. Be open to modifying your goals accordingly, right? This is a continuous process. It's not easy, but if you stay committed to this, right, your chances of achieving your goals and realizing your potential go up significantly, right? Couple last closing notes just on goal setting in general. Keep a good perspective on this whole thing, right? Keep it reasonable. Keep a positive attitude. Understand stuff is going to come up. Keep in mind identifying those potential obstacles on the way. I know I get frustrated if I get sick and I've been working out a ton and all of a sudden it sidelines me. If my expectation was that I was never going to get sick over the course of the year and slow you down, like that's dumb. That's poor planning on my part. So I know and recognize those potential obstacles that are come up. So when I do encounter them, which we all will, right, that it doesn't completely derail me. And by the way, you're allowed to take a week off or something like that as well, too. If you're going on vacation and maybe exercise, I know I hit exercise just because, again, it's something that's a big part of my life. It's okay to eat whatever you want for a couple days or a week. It's not going to derail you. The consistency that you've been doing over the course of weeks and months and years is what's going to benefit you. The week or two that you take to go on vacation and spend and maybe kind of get off track a little bit is okay, right? Don't beat yourself up if you do this. The most important thing out of all of this is just take some action. Today, I'm talking today. Get a little notepad, I don't care if it's a Post-it or whatever it is, and start scribbling a couple thoughts down, right? Start to take a little bit of action, re-listen to this podcast, maybe share it with a friend and say, hey, maybe we can start to put together some goals, right? As you're doing this, visualize what achieving these goals could look like, right? This is something that I've done many times in the business and my startup and running and racing is visualizing what it looks like kind of crossing the finish line or achieving this in sales or beginning President's Club or whatever it is. So start to visualize what that can actually look like for you. And I just think it helps give you a clearer picture as you're setting out for these goals and kind of provides a little bit of motivation as well, too, especially if maybe some of these are financial goals. Stay positive. Stay positive. It's fun. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to be challenging. But this is a great exercise. And by the way, your husband, your wife, your kids, your friends, they're going to look at you and go, wow, you set out to do something and you achieved it. That's pretty darn cool. And at the end of all this, celebrate your goals. Maybe you hit them. Maybe you came up a little bit short. You took action. You made progress. This is what really matters in the whole big picture, is that you set out to do something and you worked towards it, right? I hope that makes sense. It's been on my mind a little bit. We got to this kind of halfway point in the year, and I was like, I wonder if anybody's thought about their goals that everybody does. I know I go to my gym, and it's just packed, that first 2 weeks of January or so, and then it's just back to normal, and you see the same old people the rest of the year round. Dust off those goals. I know a lot of people have them. Dust them off. See where you're at with them. Maybe think about revising them, editing them. See what you can do between now and the end of the year. You got, 5-6 months left. Get after it. Put some fun stuff out there. There's be creative with your goals. Really enjoy it. Make it you. It's gonna pay dividends. It just always does. So, well, I hope that provided some value to everybody out there. It's yours. Again, take a minute. If this podcast makes sense to you, or maybe there's somebody that you'd like to share this particular topic or episode. One of the cool things about the Unlicensed Counselor podcast is, they're kind of specific topics, right? So if you got somebody that you've been talking to about goals or have some thoughts, your husband, wife, your friend, whatever it is, hit those 3 little dots and you can share this episode and send it directly and text it to them, and then maybe have a quick conversation around it. Again, I just want to continue to say thank you to everybody that's making this happen as the numbers continue to grow and the downloads are really going. It's really neat to see. I'm very, very grateful to all those that continue to do this. So with that, my name is Steve Moak. This is the Unlicensed Counselor. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, we'll see you later.